How you doing, Cajun girl? You're the first one today. Gonna wait for a few more people to come in. If you don't know, this channel mostly revolves around the simulation idea. How you doing, call speaker? My name is Danny, and I claim to have found proof that we live in a simulation. How you doing, the business? How are you? Starting a little late today. How you doing, the YouTube? Whoever's joining us there. Joseph, Joshua, Mac. I guess on the weekends, it's automatically is a little later, just because I guess I had a lot of things during the day. Didn't realize this. How are you, everybody? Welcome to the chat. Welcome to all the regulars and to all the newcomers. This chat is around the simulation hypothesis. And in all my daily talks, we're talking about adjacent concepts. My name is Danny, and I claim to have found proof that we live in a simulation. And I'm in contact with some leading scientists in the field. There's a lot of discussions on all kinds of things. And here we are back in the daily chat. How are you, everybody? Oh, today is filling up nicely. So again, to all the newcomers, this chat mostly revolves around the simulation hypothesis question, which I'm claiming is not a hypothesis anymore. I think we have some established ways, or some ways to establish that we actually do live in a simulation. How are everybody? Let's give a little bit of likes just so we can pull more people into the chat. How are you, everybody? And today's question in regarding the simulation idea is, what kind of world do most people in the chat want to see in about 10 years? Does some of you imagine more of a technological world that is your dream future, or do you imagine more of a world that is kind of going back to more archaic way of being? Which one? How you doing, Jason? How are you, everybody, all the regulars and all the newcomers? How are you, everybody? Angel, 316 Watley. So, thank you for the likes. Thank you for the love. Welcome, everybody. This chat is about this simulation hypothesis, and we talk about on a daily basis. We talk about all adjacent subjects. Familiar with the CIA declassified document regarding the Gateway Protocol? Yeah, I've tried the Gateway Protocol. Have you tried it? Did anybody here try the Gateway Protocol? Let's see by a vote how many people actually tried it, or just heard about it, or read any of the documents. Did you complete all the sessions? Let me put this as a note. I want to write it down because I thought it was a really good idea to make a sign. Somebody suggested it in the chat. I thought it was a great idea. Make a background sign on what the chat is about. Maybe I can do like a digital one. Another proof we live in a co-creative simulation. What was your experience in the business? Because did anybody else try the Gateway protocol? It's an interesting one. So I tried it. How are you, Silver Lining? Again, just going to repeat it one more time. Grass is not green, and my farts do not smell. Is that your mating pickup line? CRSD 45? More likes can attract viewers. Oh, that's me telling it to myself. Yeah, so let's give it some likes just so we can attract more viewers. We had some people. Your body, what? Oh, strong tingling throughout my body and almost separate from my body. Interesting. Why does it tell you, and I'm only asking that just to kind of tease out some of your idea, but why does that point to the winner simulation? I've had a similar experience in that it kind of created these sensations, and I think it also gave me the ability to feel other people's energy a lot more. So, for example, after one session, I put my head against my fiance's head, and I immediately got this weird headache. And I could tell that it wasn't my headache. And I asked her, "Did you just get a headache?" And she's like, "Yeah." So I literally felt her headache. Let's see. So, silver lining, and all the newcomers again. This channel mostly talks about the simulation hypothesis. And my name is Danny, and I'm claiming to have found proof that we live in a simulation. I have a lot of videos. I have a few videos on my channels, Dango Thoughts on YouTube and here on TikTok, that are talking about the details of these experiments. But the gist of it is that we project a diffracted laser on the surface and you ingest a particular molecule that I can't mention the name of. On the chat, you will see code running in surfaces. Coach William, how are you? Skew the Hound. Today's question that I wanted to ask everybody, because I'm really interested in how people perceive the future, if at all. What kind of future do you guys envision? In like what kind of future would you like to see? Is it more of a technological future in which we're discovering the stars, or is it more of a down to earth, literally, in which we kind of tend to the land, plant a lot of plants, and focus on that element of existence? Or maybe it's a combination of these things. So anybody who wants to answer that would be awesome. By the way, so I see. How are you, Jason? Grass is not good. I see that there's not a lot of people that are responding so far, so we'll wait for people to basically respond. In the meanwhile, I can tell you that I mean, I went on the record very often saying that I would love to see a combination of these things, but I do recognize that the question is, if you would have to imagine your perfect future, what would that look like in 10 years, 20 years? Is it that we're aiming towards the stars, we're going and exploring, or are you envisioning much more of an archaic existence in which we, go back to more root grass kind of thing? We would just root grass, grassroot kind of thing, and we live in small communities, that whole thing. Which one is appealing to you more? Combination would be best for sure. Future of more of rediscovering of our original inherent biological technology. Yeah, I like that too. I guess I'm asking because it seems that there's always a fashion or some kind of a general tendency to, in each period in time. When I was growing up, the whole idea of exploring the new, space and all that stuff was very much the biggest thing that people envisioned for the future. And now it's almost like you feel like more people going back to like wanting to just chill and focus on Earth. And I love the combination of these two things, focusing on both tending to our immediate environment, but also always knowing that humanity is aiming for the stars. We're exploring, we're creating new things. I'm optimistic about the future. Hopefully, get back to our roots while progressing with life. Yeah, essentially how I'm envisioning it. Changing technology can live as one with future, but a very abundant way. Yeah, and I think abundance has a lot to do with, well, it's a state of mind, right? But abundance is also the ability of a civilization to create new things. How many people here are like huge sci-fi buffs? Frequency used to heal. Okay. House of healing everywhere. So you would prefer to see kind of like the world in which we use ourselves as a technology and recognize how many powers we have as individuals, right? Also, again, let's tap a little bit just to get a little bit more likes, like a little bit more people in the room. so we have a good rotation going. I've never streamed this late, so I'm not really sure how many people will show up. I don't even know what is the average for somebody who was only streaming for a few days at this hour, but maybe it's even more. Who knows? I'm still learning how to. I'm still learning and getting to know the audience of the regular people, and this helps me understand what kind of audience I'm actually attracting. But it seems that we have a pretty balanced crowd of people that are interested both in science and spirituality. How are you, Jamie? Santa Cruz on YouTube. And that's something that is very encouraging. I like this kind of mix. I just recently planted my first garden and used electrocultural method. Familiar? It sounds familiar. Is it the one where oh, electroculture? No, I don't know if I'm familiar with the term. Can you explain? Also, where in the country do you live? Or I don't know why I assumed you necessarily in the US. Where do you live in general? And it is interesting. Yeah, there's something there's something about having your own garden that I feel like gives you a very different connection to nature. You wrap copper wire in a coil around sticks planted around the seeds, and the energy is brought in and make all plants grow 100 to 200% larger. So I'm going to take your word that this works. What's crazy to me is that if these things are true, it's so crazy that this is not much more common, right? You always have the myth busters trying all kinds of things like that. I would imagine this would be much more widespread, but apparently it isn't. I actually believe you. I think there's a lot of things like that. It's just kind of crazy that at this day and age, when information is available and it's so easy to test something like this, you wouldn't have a much more common use of this kind of stuff. I wonder how we should make. So I don't know who it was, but somebody suggested to make a sign in the back that will always say like what this chat is about. I don't know how to hang it actually because I always do it in different places. Maybe I'll have like a thing that can stand right behind me. Guest. Let's see. I just saw a video right before this live on the exact thing. Interesting. I'll email you a photo of what I picked today. One without the method and one with. Oh, that would be amazing, man. Yeah, please. Wasn't there like some kind of a documentary that was recently circulating online with this guy who had some kind of a major breakthrough in how to grow things? And in the documentary, I remember in the trailer they were saying like what you're doing is really dangerous because you're gonna undermine a lot of the big money involved in keeping certain structures in place. Anybody knows what's the name of this documentary? How are you, Bitsy? Up. Yeah. You can also pin a comment, an introductory comment, letting people know what this is about. Oh, okay. Cool. I'll do that. Do I do it during the chat or it has to be before? I'll look it up, I guess. Today was today my brain was very scattered. I don't know if anybody else experienced it today. I don't know if it has anything to do with, the collective bamboozlement that was happening. I tend to kind of tune out when major events happen just because the amount of noise in the media, in the zeitgeist, just the amount of noise in the field in general really throws me off. You felt the same? MP21? Oh, you were extra sharp. No, oh, yesterday you were extra sharp. Yeah, I guess it kind of like a flux. Yesterday I had really, yeah, I don't know if I was extra sharp yesterday, but I was definitely normal. Today I woke up and I was all messed up for no reason. How are you, Kiara? That's a cool name. Yamisu Kahiro. Wait, Amisukahiro, are you from Japan? That's a really cool name. Oh, sometimes I just send invitations by mistake, but I'm always cool with people coming on if they have something interesting to say. So, whomever I send the invitation by mistake, you're welcome to come on, no problem. Um, Becky, how are you? Yeah, I think, and this is why today, by the way, I was having a hard time coming up with like a particular subject. It's almost like I'm just hovering, and these days you literally you can just sit and stare at a wall and you don't know what to do next. And it rarely happens to me. Well, that's not true. It doesn't rarely happen to me. It's just that usually I have a whole calendar that tells me what to do. Today I had I'm trying to keep Sundays pretty pretty open, and actually that was not working in my benefit. I had a really hard time understanding what to do next. And I guess that's okay as well. But I really wonder if that's related. The things that really get me going is thinking about the expansive future of humanity. That always excited me, and it's almost like when I grew older, this tendency that tends to subside because you have all the mundane things of day to day. But now it seems like the entire culture just got off the train of being excited about the future. Um, one of the things that this vision that Elon Musk has, that whatever you might feel or think about Elon, but the idea of being excited about the future, that's one that is very appealing to me. I wish we wouldn't. I wish more people would be more excited about the future. Thanks for sending an email, the beastness. Let me actually look at it right now. I focus on breathing when I'm like that. Oh, thanks for the advice. Yeah, breathing, or tend to meditate, or I would just do something that is completely mindless. Like sometimes I would just literally throw some kind of a random thing on YouTube. I don't know why music actually doesn't. I mean, I love music, but I think I get carried away too much, and then I feel like I'm really, it takes me too far afield. Let me see the email. So yeah, that would be interesting because I also saw a giant spike of people. There was like 100 people for like a second, and then it obviously subsided. So I wonder what I can do to actually retain this audience and have like a discussion. Um, I wonder if people just kind of like see either a debate or an argument or something like that, and then they stay. Or I guess if they would see a sign, that would be one way. Let's look at those imagery. Beastly, thank you, dude. What? That literally looks like a. That's crazy. I wish I could show everybody. Can't really show on TikTok. That is tone music is very nice to relax to. Wait, so the business just sent me and emailed me a picture of two cucumbers. One that he grew with 432 hertz. You said tone music, and the other one was nothing at all. And the one is like enormous, and the other one is tiny. Yeah, it is amazing. But and again, I'm only asking just to kind of like get to the bottom of it. Do you know for a fact that that was the determining factor? That was the only parameter you changed. Still chill here. Yeah, it's pretty chill, but it's okay. My big challenge was to stream every day, no matter what. So I'm doing that. I'm not so worried about every single stream to just be completely packed. Also, I only started streaming on a regular basis, so I'm pretty sure it's going to take a while before the audience builds up on a regular basis. But yeah, but it would be good to triangulate what actually retains the audience. I don't always get that, but sometimes you get like a big spike. You get like 100 people, which was the case today, and then it just kind of disappeared. Or maybe I don't have a cool shirt today. It's just a very plain thing. Maybe that's the problem. That was the only difference. Yeah. So I basically just challenged again. I sent another invite. I don't know why he keeps doing that. Maybe I'm clicking on the thing by mistake. Emailing you what the coils look like right now. What made you realize that that works? Did you see a video about this business? Let me see what's here. Aaron, how are you, man? Joining in. I'm a huge fan of Aaron. He's an incredible editor and director and an angel, 100%. Yeah, TikTok video. Oh, cool. Yeah, isn't it cool that you can also get all this kind of information on TikTok? I barely ever use it, to be honest, and I got to use it more. Huh? So today's topic, Aaron, is do we envision a future? If you would have to envision your dream future, would that be more of a technological future, or more in which you get to stay in a little house on a lake, or maybe a combination of these things? Because I would love the house on the lake, but I would also love to go and visit houses on the lake, on lakes, on other planets. Listening to frequency helps tune into your mind. We can learn how Thai alter our own frequency at Y. I don't know if it was a typo or I'm just not familiar with the lingo. How Thai alter our frequency, our own. I think there's a misconception about living off the land. What is that misconception? To alter frequency. Oh, I see. Thank you, Mendel. I never know how to pronounce your thing, but it's a really cool handle. Mendel loves cakes. It really is cool. Like Little House on a Prairie. You got it. Yeah, house. Yeah, that would be a cool dream. Again, I think that there's like a healthy balance between. I think the healthiest thing for humans, because genetically we're predisposed to be more fulfilled and feel more peace when we're in small communities. So maybe have an enormously advanced technological civilization that has the capability of going to all kinds of places, but then always, wherever we live, we always organize the structure in such a way that it always subdivides into these little communities that are connecting to bigger portions of society. But then these portions, whenever your immediate environment is always like, I don't know, 20 people, right? And that kind of creates this like very familial feeling and helps live a healthier psychological life. But at the same time, you still have all the benefits of technology and the ability to connect to a much larger, sector of civilization. And you're just basically tuning in for whatever it is, like if it's for tasks, for a job, for whatever. Thanks for the likes, guys. That would be my dream scenario. Even in the big cities, like if you construct the big cities, don't make them like claustrophobic. Make them so they are structured in a way that is like a tree, and then you end up in an immediate environment in which you have your nuclear family and 20 more people that kind of, or 20 more families that kind of live around you. And I mean, also we can probably genetically modify ourselves to naturally thrive more in bigger, you know, collections of people. But that should be a choice. Video of when I installed the electroculture's coil sent to you. Thank you. Technology can be clean, like live in society remotely. Yeah, basically. Or remotely, or the ability to just get there fast, right? Sometimes I really enjoy the being quiet in nature and all of that. But sometimes I miss New York City. There's something there's charm to it. Would you take Neuralink? In a heartbeat? In a heartbeat. I mean, obviously, I would like all the kinks to be worked out, but in a heartbeat. I don't have. I don't know. I'm always drawn to these things. I don't have like the techno fear thing. I think that ultimately it's all one evolution, and I'm very excited about what's to come. And it's not to say that I'm not aware of the dangers of that situation, but I'm more excited about the potentials of it than being afraid of potential downfalls. What do you think quantum immortality? Why quantum? What is the word quantum doing for the concept? I'm actually asking. How are you, Marcia? Blah, blah. Immortality, I think, is very achievable, and I think we might actually see it in our lifetime. again, I don't know if I'm an outlier or not an outlier, but I want to live as long as I possibly can in the most advanced civilization I can possibly see in the time that I'm alive. Uh, if I can live for 10,000 years, I'll do that. No problem. I mean, you can always opt out, right? You can always choose to stop. But if you can keep going, imagine the wisdom that you'll acquire in that time. Imagine the level of sophistication and both thought and connectedness to the world that you can actually learn in that time. Maybe that's what we are already in. Um, Wait, you mean that we're already in this kind of a structure? Marsha George, you mean like souls living forever? Neuralink installs already. Oh, yeah, well, for one person, right? Quantum immortality, like being uploaded to a server. Well, why is it quantum in this case? Because, well, I guess if you think that consciousness is quantum, but so yeah, I think that in simple terms, I would love to live for as long as I possibly can, and I love the idea of watching these enormous structures happening in the galaxy. Creating Dyson spheres and all that stuff. This excites me beyond belief. But also, obviously, it would be terrible if every place we get to, all we see is this gray and cold world. So being able to terraform planets to look more beautiful, that's the future for humanity that I see. That we get to actually make the universe more beautiful, so to speak. And I don't see it, by the way, as hubris. I see it as the link of connectedness and understanding that we are a force of the universe that can create more beautiful structures than the regular physical laws can. I think we do live forever. Oh, you mean like as a soul? But I mean like live forever in this body, like or live for much, much, much longer. Here, how I muse. Wait, what was this response to Mantle loves cakes? Once our civilization is rid of hate, greed, fear, that type of tech will be made available to us. I believe that. I believe that. I think these are actually linked. I think you're right. The terraforming idea. What's wrong with the terraforming idea? Let's explore that. It's amazing. Amazing thing about it. Yeah, it will be incredible. I think because think about it. Like we would take the biosphere and we'll literally allow life to perpetuate throughout the universe. That's a beautiful dream. It's something that, again, sometimes, very often, you would hear me take it back to David Deutsch's ideas because he has many really good ones. One of them is that knowledge is an actual force in the universe. So, like, if you think of things like us that are capable of creating knowledge, right? Things like humans in the universe from the universal perspective. So, all forces in the universe, all of them dissipate over space and time. If you send out a signal, eventually it spreads out and dilutes, right? Gravity is a little different, but gravity is not even, we're not even sure if it's a force. Gravity basically is its influence is infinite. It's just that there's other tugs that compete with it. But with knowledge, so if you put, for example, let's say you put schematics of how to build a particular spaceship in a hard drive and you send it in a spaceship across the galaxy. If nothing happens to the spaceship, if it manages to maneuver all the way to the other side of the galaxy, and then it arrives at its location and there's another civilization on the other side of the galaxy that can take that information and read it and then use these schematics to build the spaceship. So what happened from a universal perspective, there was some kind of a code, it was a message that traveled without disturbing anything in the middle, did not dissipate over time, it was basically eternal, and then arrived on the other side, and it caused a structure, a material structure, to appear, a kind of a material structure that could not appear without this particular kind of information, right? And that's what he calls knowledge. And the more accurate the knowledge is, in other words, the more it tracks reality closer, the more it has the capability of instantiating itself in physical matter and to cause itself to maintain, to remain so. So either by causing beings who understand it to try and protect it, which is because it's valuable, And that's a really interesting concept, because the window that it opens is the understanding that things like us are very important in the universe. And it's very important to maintain both the integrity and the function of what we are. And it means that if we don't destroy ourselves, which is a huge if, obviously, but if we don't, and you run the clock forward, eventually the type of knowledge you'll be able to be implemented in the universe will dwarf any physical force. It's like even black holes that are, this enormous monster. Eventually, what we will be able to do with our knowledge will will dwarf the function of a black hole, and will literally paint the universe with our imagination. And all of it is based on very concrete assumptions about the world that are based on physical laws that we understand. Let's see. Oh, we have quite a bit of comments. I missed them. It's amazing to think about. Your physical may be just a facet of your soul manifesting in one of its many forms. Yeah, I agree. It's very possible, and I even believe it's very probably what's going on. It's just that in this realm, knowledge is the only thing that we found so far to be able to interact with the world in a way that is reliably, like it works reliably, right? And even if the truth of the original entry point of what we are into this place is through the soul, or we are the soul expressing itself in the space, the fact that the function of being able to do what we're doing and to make it better is possible, it tells you that, okay, keep going. It will eventually connect to some kind of an understanding, I think, that connects even to this deepest idea of the soul. Maybe you are quantumly doing it already by idealizing it. Yeah, I think, Terence McKenna had this idea where he was talking about how, in his perception, the soul is essentially the stretch of all the things that you do over time in existence, right? So basically, if you stretch the being not just in three spatial coordinates but also in time, the totality of what happened to that informational unit over time with spatial coordinates and everything is the soul. So in simple terms, you can think of it like that: like whatever you didn't do today, the you of the future will have to do. So it's almost like if you did something today, the you of tomorrow, you don't have, like, doesn't have to do that, and it's one object. So it's almost like you take off some of the responsibility. In that sense, any idea we're uttering today can manifest into functions later, which definitely means that the second we speak something with enough conviction and in cause other minds to want to think about that, is the thing that eventually gives rise to it in the physical world. I think maybe dark matter is the ashes of light. It's very poetic. I don't think it would. I don't think it would map onto what we understand about its functions, because dark matter, by definition, does not interact with electromagnetism. That's why we call it dark matter, because it seems to move completely through everything aside from, I believe, the weak force. Did you took the vax? No comment. No comment, because I don't know what this contributes. Was the Higgs prediction perfect? What do you mean by that? Eric Dogan. Muse may be an alien civilization planted life on Earth, similar to the intro of Prometheus. Yeah, but it's possible, of course. I don't see the value of this hypothesis unless you have some kind of a proof of any kind, like if we have any evidence for that, because it's not clean, like it's not aesthetic as far as an explanation, because all it does, it kicks the can down the road. It just even what is it? How do you pronounce it? Permspermia, that life didn't originate here, right? So either aliens planted us here, or if a meteor came and smashed into the Earth, and then life was planted here, and then it evolved. It doesn't actually tell you anything. It doesn't solve any problems, basically, because the mystery isn't how did life originate on Earth. The mystery is, how did life originate? So if it's not on Earth, okay, we're somewhere else, but how did that happen? So it's not really explaining anything. And also, the maybe alien civilization anything has infinite degrees of freedom because you don't know what kind of alien civilization, what their goals would be, all that stuff. There are some things I can tell you that don't make any sense that some people utter with a lot of confidence. Like the whole, I'm sure you're familiar with the whole, we were enslaved to mine gold. Like that just makes zero sense. If we understand anything about knowledge, is that the second you reach a certain level of it, resources becomes a non-issue. And by the way, we, with our limited technology, we know how to make gold. We can actually do alchemy now, right? Because we understand the science of what happens in nuclear reactors and in the center of the sun. So even though it will take us an enormous amounts of energy to do it at the moment, so it's not worth it, but we know how to do it. So eventually, a civilization will reach a point where I'm sure it will be they can just print it, right? So the idea of, like, again, enslaving any other race to do some work, you can automate everything. You can build robots to do things. It just sounds so what a, what our civilization's mind would make up as a scenario versus a real thing. One thing that is super clear to me about an actual alien civilization is that if you can understand their goals relatively easy, they're not aliens. Like aliens would be really alien, like in a way that just blow your noodle if you ever understand the actual tilt of their functions and all that stuff. But I think that you can say pretty confidently across the board, unless you believe in like core evil, or just for the sake of making other creatures suffer is why you do that, then okay, then we can talk about potentially a civilization that is just evil at its core, just enslaving civilizations for the sake of doing it. But as far as like an economical argument, it makes zero sense, right? If you can traverse uh, the enormous cavities of space, and the technology is good enough to actually come to another planet and enslave an entire civilization, why would you waste all these resources of doing all of that? You can just automate a system, print gold probably. Um, and if the contention is like, well, no, 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 they're not traversing space, they're coming from another dimension. Okay, even more so. If you can traverse dimensions, even more so. So these, arguments are just silly to me. I really want to know what you meant by again. Was the Higgs prediction perfect? Maybe an alien. AJ, let's see. What else is here? Leading light dwarf. Wait. Let me read all that. De Sitter space is for. You mean anti-de Sitter space from string theory? Enjoy the simulation. It sounds like repetition that will occur over and over. Light dwarfs dark matter lead long to us. Knowledge dwarfs black holes, leading to. Wait. Okay, hold on. So, Mandela Cake says light dwarfs dark matter, lead long to us. Oh, leading long to us. Knowledge dwarfs black hole, leading to. Okay, I see what you're saying. So, yeah, I don't think it's a hierarchy thing. Unless you're talking about, like, again, in a more of a poetic way, then I get it. But like if you're talking about actually in physical terms, no, it's not a hierarchy thing. So first of all, dark matter is not. We don't really know what it is. We call it dark simply because it's completely. They should call it transparent matter. I think it's confusing when they call it dark matter. It's not dark. It's not like we just can't see it because there's not enough light. It's transparent. It doesn't interact with any regular matter, and it doesn't interact with light, with electromagnetism at all. That's why it's dark. Um, we don't know what it is. It just exerts gravity, which is interesting. So we don't know what it is. That's the bottom line there. Black holes are just an enormous force, and what I meant by knowledge is that it seems to be an informational pattern that can do actual work in the universe. depiction of how progressively wake up into higher realm. Wait. I just got a mail. Just emailed you a depiction of how we progressively wake up into higher realms, multiple facets of the same soul. Have a look. Let me check. Hold on. Let me see a couple more. Higgs two prediction 70 years ago, and what they found in Hadron Collider, was it exactly the same? Where you need to understand that what they find in the Hadron Collider, it's all statistical models that point to a particular regularity, and if that piece of the puzzle fits mathematically, the degree to which it fits, it tells you if it's the same thing that you found. And very often it would, and then you have extra things that you didn't think that it would exhibit, and then you discover and you think about it. Yeah, it matched pretty well from what I understand. But I think that when you look at the details of what the Higgs field actually is, I don't think it's that straightforward. But I think that the simple answer is yes. It matched pretty well what the prediction was. You don't think we are a slave race created to mine gold for an alien race? No, definitely not. I'm willing to put a lot of money on this. My favorite, and it says, my favorite depiction of an alien being is from a movie, Annihilation. Of course you would. Wait, why? Let's say that people here don't know about this. Can you tell us why, Aaron? Yes. Know everything about black goo. Is it the same as gray goo? You mean like the scenario of nanobots that just engulf the Earth? Harold Coots Valet is a genius on the subject. Let's see. To the 24th decimal thought. Okay, so let me see. Let me look at the email real quick. What we got? Oh, interesting. So we have the audience can't see the image, but let's see if I can understand quickly and translate what I see. So there's people, and then is that with birds, and then space, and then trees, and then mountains, and then light, and then God. I gotta look at this again. I'm not sure that it's that clear cut. The email you sent me, the business. I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's that clear cut for me to understand immediately. But if you want to put in what that means, yeah, I think I personally have never seen a depiction of aliens that would kind of, in a movie at least, they would kind of resemble what I would imagine them to be. As some of you know, I'm claiming to have some communication with the higher civilization that seem to be giving rise to our reality, and they're definitely very alien. Some of them look like, and I'm not obviously not the only one. People report this quite often on the molecule space. Some of them are like insects or like reptiles, but I think that their essence is extremely alien. Which honestly, I think if we could communicate with reptiles and insects, like with their psychology, I would assume that it will also be extremely alien. Let's see, just how we wake up from a dream. Wait. We immediately realize that it was a dream and this is real life. When we die, immediately realize that this is life. Have you ever done the molecule, the business? I'm asking because the molecule feels just like that. It depicts an organism that we as humanity have absolutely no way to understand. So how does it depict it though? So I don't know if we don't have a way to understand it. I think it's just very difficult. I think that an alien civilization will never have like a, kind of like, well, they came here and they needed some workers, so they enslaved us. This is like an extremely blunt way of explaining something that is probably sophisticated beyond belief. Matrolink said in an essay, we could get a peek at the fourth dimension by studying edges of other three. A peek at the fourth dimension. Okay. I think it's obscure. The message, Eric Dalgan, was actually a dream as well. It comes out of ports deep in the ocean. Black goo, the binary black goo comes from elsewhere. More real than real is common you probably meant theme, from those that have experienced the molecule. Yes, that's what I mean. So maybe you mean that when we die, it becomes completely real. Is that what you mean? It's probably still layers. Well, yeah, it's interesting how, you know, the idea of the alien is something that both fascinates and scares us. But I think that if we really encounter the thing, it'll be hard for us to distinguish what their actual goals are unless they put enormous effort in trying to communicate it. Like if they want to be completely misunderstood, then obviously we won't be able to understand. So the only alien civilization that will be able to even begin to try and comprehend is one that is engaged actively in trying to make us understand. One that is just trying to come and like destroy us or things like that, or enslave us. We would never be able to actually understand anything of substance about them. Probably takes eons to completely make it back to source on each of our journeys. Sure, but can I ask you a question? Like, for example, people, I'm not negating what you're saying because all of these things are plausible, but this is my point. Like, when you postulate something like this, you must realize that the space of how many possibilities are there in that regard, it's literally infinite, right? So I don't know why. To me, just because I don't have anything to grab onto, like nothing, none of it is just like intuitive in the sense that, or it's not that it's not intuitive, is that a lot of these concepts, you can change so many different parameters in it and it will be the same. So there's something really not neat about it. And I like when things are neat. This is what I like about scientific rigor and strong scientific theories, that they're very difficult to modulate. Like if you find something that's really true, the explanation is so robust and it has so many different facets that all have to be exactly right, that if you ruin one of them, it can actually make the whole thing crumble, right? There's something very economical about it. But when we start postulating, well, maybe the civilizations came in and enslaved us for gold, but actually gold was just like a test because they wanted to see if we're if we're going to be enamored by it or if we're going to pass the test. But then there was another deal that they made with another civilization that they will kind of subcontract them, and then but actually God sent the function from the beginning, so ultimately it's all God, but the Italian civilizations, they're doing it. You see what I mean? Like literally you can just keep playing this game of making shit up forever, and none of it will like actually tells you anything about what it might really be. I try to stay like loyal to what we can actually still observe or measure. For example, the whole simulation thing was never something that I was interested in. It never appealed to me because it had this quality of being infinitely elastic. It has this like infinite directional element, which I don't like. But because I've claiming to have found what I found, I'm okay, well, that's something concrete. Like we can look at it and we can extrapolate from it. Let's see. It acts more like space fungi that only appears to transform matter. Ooh, I like that. See, that's really cool. The alien's true appearance is similar to that of Mandelbrot, a type of 3D fractal. Probably takes one. Yeah. I died once and can only recall hearing the old dial-up internet connection noise. That's really funny. I don't know if this was a joke or not, but it's still really funny, even if it actually happened to you. The alien's true appearance similar. So I really like the whole. The Mandelbrot set. My intuition tells me that it's deeply linked to what the answer is at the end, at the back of the Book of Nature, because it's so ubiquitous. Like it just appears everywhere by itself. The bifurcation pattern in its tentacles in the front seems to describe, many things from behaviors of beginning of behaviors of chaotic systems to the bifurcation of well, it's also chaotic systems. So I guess all chaotic systems of population. So mathematically it describes basically all facets of reality that we can see, and the fact that it creates this beautiful shape that is so mysterious and Veritasium did this video in which he created a 3-dimensional version of it, which makes it even more mysterious. So there's something very deep there. I would look way more there than I would look at the flower of life, for example. I think there's something like if we play with the Mandelbrot set, I think we'll discover something very profound that it as relating to consciousness and the answer to life, the universe, and everything. Does fine tuning make you lean towards there being a creator? Fine tuning. Oh, you mean like the problem of fine tuning? Well, again, I'm seeing, again, I'm just seeing directly that there's some kind of civilization responsible for running this layer. So in that regard, I'm pretty sure that they put the fine tuning there. But also, it tells me that there's a reason why they put these there and not other ones, which means there's still a method by which they arrived at the knowledge of why these and not others, which technically doesn't really get you out of the problem. To say somebody planted them there, if I want to say an advanced civilization put the fine-tuning parameters there, or God put the fine-tuning parameters there, you didn't actually solve the problem. You just said somebody figured out what parameters would give rise to a stable reality. But the knowledge of why these parameters and not other parameters is still needs to be answered if you're in the interest of trying to answer that, right? So then you would want to ask, why did God pick these and not others? Same problem. This is, by the way, why the problem of reality itself is so insistent. And this is why I'm convinced that even the highest being or God doesn't actually know why everything exists, because of this property. That no matter how much infinite regress you want to go back, you can always say, okay, but why that versus something else? And at a certain point, I guess you just either give up or you just say, okay, it doesn't matter. But if you are in the game of trying to answer it, then that's not an answer. It's kind of like, I think I had this conversation with you, Aaron. I don't remember if I have, but whenever a physicist gets on a radio show or something, or on a podcast, and then they say, we discovered Y, X, Z, right? And then they go on a whole tangent for like 30 minutes, at the end of which all they did is that they added another element to the picture. And then when they see that they kind of have to explain the reason for that, they just say, oh, and these are just naturally occurring. Whenever you hear physicists saying naturally occurring, this is a hand wavy gesture saying, woo, we don't know. But why not say, okay, but that we don't know? Because they always say just, and that is just naturally occurring. Well, wait a second. You're in the game of trying to explain the whole thing. So you don't get to pretend that you get to just eliminate that part. You don't get to say just naturally occurring about anything. So you just basically kick kick the buck one more step up. That's it. But just at least admit that. It's just one of these things that just drives me crazy every time I hear that. Supposedly they used the gold to save their realm. Okay, so assuming that you're asking this seriously, that is an extremely generous, or like if you look at the details of what that is, like gold is just a physical element, right? And in order to, like, we know that heavy elements are created in certain amounts of pressure inside of cores of stars. We humans, we know how to reproduce the condition to make it happen. That alone should tell you that if something is even a little bit more advanced, they will never need to mine any of it. Let alone if we're talking about a more advanced technology like personal replicators, like building things from the atoms up. Which again, we already have rudimentary versions of that. The fact that we have rudimentary versions of these things, in other words, it means that it's just a matter of time before we have more advanced versions of this. The fact that it is possible, it necessitates that eventually, at some point, doesn't matter how long, you will be able to just do it. Like anything is physically possible, you'll be able to do it. And because of that, knowledge ultimately leads you, I think, to a much more expansive and a much more bright future, because you know how to do certain things that automate things and make it much easier. So you don't need to enslave anything. Even now, we're already on the verge of building bots that can actually do a lot of the torturous work. There will always be this element of being afraid of the next thing being the thing that is actually destroying us. I think this innate fear of hubris is it's ever present, right? But I think I think it's just a natural fear based on DNA that every time somebody ventured, very, very often when we venture into unknown territory, we know that some of us will not make it. And I think evolutionarily, that's where we develop this sense that, there's always the people who warn against, you don't want to go too far. Okay, but how far do you want to go? It just seems arbitrary. If we're already playing the game of trying to understand, why not then play the infinite game versus playing all the finite games? And this to me just kind of, it doesn't track. It doesn't make any sense that civilization would depend on their world on gold to survive. Let's see what we have on YouTube. Hi bro, thank God I got in here while you're live. Which crypto will give the most returns in a short time in the near future? John Rich is asking about crypto. I think you got the wrong channel, brother. With recovers. Let's see. Supposedly I know exactly the tone you speak of. Wait, let's see what it's connected to. It's fun to entertain things. Oh no, for sure. It's just that particular scenario just doesn't track. I like to entertain it also in the sense of I don't know if it's a spectrum thing or whatever. I have no idea, but I really want it to be neat and connect. So if you want to set up a system, even if it's a civilization that would run the simulation, it would not set up one in which it has to tend to it constantly. It doesn't make any sense. It would make one that can automate itself. When I get down to what I think is actually real and what isn't, it fits in one hand. Bingo. And that's how it should be. The flower of life was solved. Do you hear? You mean Terrence Howard? That properly opened it? It's wait, what's happening? Whoa. Okay. Wait, I think I skipped a lot. Okay. It's like finding a pencil on its tip standing without any append help. It's possible, but unlikely. Yeah. Well, it's not exactly that. Actually, this is a controversial point that will piss off. Well, it will only piss off people that are biologists. So unless there's biologists here, I don't think a lot of people get pissed off. But this tip of the pencil example. Wow, I've had this argument so many times. It's so funny. So the whole so take yourself through this. Now we accept the fact that now that we have robust structures, biological structures, they have a whole array of I guess you can call it laws or regularities by which they perpetuate, which is the evolution by natural selection, right? But when you take it to the original point, the original explanation is to somehow these structures just kind of appeared, and there's a hidden thing there, which, oh my God, okay, I don't even know if I want to get into this. Okay, so the pencil that stands on its head, right? So the explanation as to how it potentially happened is that you had just simple chemistry that then somehow created a structure that was perfectly fitted for a particular environment, and it because it was perfectly fitted to that particular environment, it was easy for it to basically create more of itself, of the same thing. Now, so I'm about to say something, and then that something is always countered by evolutionary biologists by saying, no, I don't think you understand what is actually proposed. And I'm pretty sure I do understand. I think that what they fail to understand is that it's literally the pencil standing on its head. Because yes, it can happen in even a few iterations, but it won't have infinite iterations. There's no way right? Because it would have to keep, like, there's some information encoded somewhere that tells us to keep doing this. It's not enough. The suitability to the environment is not enough for it to be able to keep perpetuating it indefinitely. That is not possible without invoking some other layer that encodes the information that is actually telling it that it is that thing that now needs to maintain its integrity. So now, the funny thing about this is that I've had these arguments for I don't know how long. I even had this with my fiance at the time, and because she knows quite a bit about biology, and we went back and forth. And she's like, "I don't understand what you want." I'm like, "Dude, how do you not see that? That's crazy." So then, Michael Levine recently, he's a look him up. Is a biologist who's now kind of like revolutionizing a lot of this research, and they're actually on the verge of curing cancer. I all of a sudden heard him talk, and I was like, boom, bingo. That's what I'm saying. And he just discovered that yes, there is this some kind of another layer of electrical signals that seem to be above the genetic level. So it's not. So for example, it apparently there's nothing that knows. There's no like part of the genome that knows the whole picture. It's each part knows to do a particular function and bring it about, but there's nothing that actually knows that it should be a body of this shape. Okay, so you have to ask yourself, how do you explain when stem cells all of a sudden like go and like they know what part they're supposed to play in the larger picture? And he discovered that there's this electrical signal that you can actually modify, part of the software actually, that can actually tell it to do that. If you watch some of his talks, you will understand the details. Obviously, I'm sure I'm not doing it service, but essentially what he discovered is that you can actually utilize this fact to regrow limbs in creatures that are not supposed to regrow limbs. So they managed to do it with frogs, with some other creatures. But basically, the idea is that eventually in the future we'll be able to even like regrow our own organs. But here's what we're like proof positive that what I was saying, like that's what I was talking about. Like, how can it be? It just doesn't make any sense. And this whole pencil standing on its head, it's exactly what I'm talking about. There has to be some kind of another layer. And by the way, the simulation tapestry makes sense of it because now you have a possible candidate for this medium through which this extra information is flowing to tell the organism that it needs to be this thing and maintain itself as that thing. Let's see. I don't know if it's real. I didn't entertain the whole narrative. Ever read Kabbalion? Yeah, I read the Kabbalion. Interesting book. Was a Muamua probe? Did it come from the Oort cloud, or is it from another star system? From what I understand, it was outside of the Oort cloud. Maybe I'm wrong, but also I think recently there was some kind of an explanation. I don't remember exactly. We all are afraid to realize we aren't at the top of the food chain. Yeah, I think that's a big one. Kirsten, how are you? I think that's a big one. You mean an Anunnaki? Whoa! Everything's jumping on me. Whoa. Okay, so we skipped a lot. Let's see. Solve the flower isn't a geometric shape. Yeah, I think Terrence Howard took his info from the book Universal One. Yeah, Terrence Howard is a wild one. It's the space in between the bubbles. People connected the intersecting points, made shapes. That's how Nimar Kani Hamed kind of explained it. Keep going. But it's not the shapes where the secret is. I guess it's the empty space between the created creates all. That's why I asked how perfect Higgs' prediction was. EMF. I will check them out. Okay. Universe has no obligation to make sense to us. Exactly. I agree with that. Any opinion about wow signal? That's an interesting one. You know what? Bioelectricity. Yeah, bioelectricity. Thank you. Medal of Cakes. You heard of him? Michael Levine? Very fascinating guy. Highly recommend. You know what? The wow signal. No, I don't have a strong like opinion about it, but it is to anybody who doesn't know. The wow signal was basically the only one of these only things that kind of like glitches, not glitches, but like one of these things that still we don't really have an explanation for it, which it was like some kind of a a signal that arrived that seemed to have defy what we believe is possible naturally to occur, and it never repeated itself. That's the problem. So the person who discovered it like wrote "wow" next to it. That's what's called the wow signal. That's a fascinating one. Actually, I well, of course, it can be completely wishful thinking, but I do think it was actually something. But yeah, I like Michael Levine stuff is like just fascinating. The stuff that they're doing now, and plus it's infused with deep philosophical ideas that connect to now to something very concrete and functional. The wow signal. I don't even know. Does anybody here know if the wow signal is the one that gave like? Is that what Carl Sagan and his wife used that example to write Contact? Do you know if that's related? Somebody on YouTube was asking me about crypto. It's very funny. Yeah, but yeah, I mean, not sure. Yeah, that's a great film. I there's some things that just I know that very often for the layman, if you don't know enough a particular field, then certain things sounds like like they should make intuitive sense, but they don't always. But then the experts have all kinds of I think experts very often get too lost in certain one-liners that they've heard when they were in school, and they just repeat them like a mantra, and they never question them. So what I just mentioned about biology would be one of them. Now, admittedly, I I can't say that I know enough, the details of biology to argue any substantial point in that space. But that it doesn't even you see the thing there is that it has to do with just logical functionality of what we understand about matter. So if you're talking about an arising of life out of not life, you don't actually need to understand biology on a deep level to see that there's a gap of explanation there. So either they're doing a terrible job at actually explaining it, or but I'm like I kind of looked at it from all directions, and by having these arguments often, I saw that no, there's like a blind spot there that they seem to not see. And then I was like, how is that possible? Because most of these people are extremely smart. So how did they not see it? And I realized that it's literally it's like indoctrination. Like they repeated it so many times, and they don't realize that they're involved in a circular argument. So they're saying no, it's fitted to its own environment, so it's doing it. I'm like, but you don't understand what I'm telling you. Why did it start doing it from the beginning? It doesn't make any sense. Like, why would it? Okay. The pencil can stand like this for a few seconds, so it repeated itself for a few seconds, but then it will fall. There's nothing in the laws of physics that determine that it should keep doing that. And then they just like it's just like a blank stare, and there's no connection there for some reason. Another example of that, when I think people experts in their field get a little bit too enamored by these one-liners, is I'm sure everybody here familiar with the quote, "If you think you understand quantum physics, then you don't understand quantum physics." It's just like, what? Okay, so why are you studying it then? Why are you studying it then? It's like, yes, it's very weird, 100%, but clearly it's working, right? Which means that whatever the explanation is, there is one. And I think it was kind of what's funny is that I with doing some a little bit reading about this whole like period of how scientists used to think back then. It's really a product of the fact that most of the people in that period were embedded in the shut up and calculate um, era, in which the idea was like, look, the explanations as to why that is like don't matter so much, is like just shut up and calculate. Like, if the calculation works, that's your explanation. And then people start confusing an explanation with a calculation, which of course doesn't make any sense, like in ultimate terms, because what we're interested in science ultimately is the explanation of why that is, or what is it, the thing, right? And the measuring tools and calculations, they're just tools, they're not the explanation. And science should be in the business of explanation. So this little one-liner, which is like, if you think you understand quantum physics, you don't understand quantum physics, is based on this assumption that, yes, from a calculation perspective, if you just want to make quantum physics either this or that, it doesn't make any sense. It's like, if you think that it just makes sense in your brain, then yeah, you didn't fully understand it, because it should not make sense, and then you understood it. But it should not make sense only if what you're assuming about it is that it follows some kind of a linear trajectory that you're familiar with, which is based on the types of calculations that we used to make. So the second you start introducing probability as part of the fundamental layer of it, all of a sudden it kind of went against what we expected nature to do, which is follow linear rules that follow one after another. So when probability is all of a sudden introduced, it's like, well, wait a second, like Einstein said, is God playing dice here? Well, no, there's a deeper structure of some sort that we can't quite grasp. And to say that, you see what I mean? Like, you're kind of shooting yourself in the foot. Like, yes, it invokes the humility to not pretend that you know more than you understand, but at the same time, it hampers more progress, because you put too much emphasis on a one-liner that is kind of cool to repeat, but it doesn't necessarily have to be the final word on something. Another one is Occam's razor, by the way. That, yeah, for the most part, it's a good rule to follow. You don't want to complicate things beyond what needs to be, but nobody said that like a better explanation has to be the simplest explanation. It's nowhere written. So I think very often people make too much of these kind of like one-liners, which actually makes talking to certain experts at a certain level of a field even more challenging, because they don't see that they're just bogged down by all the one-liners they were fed when they were in school. Let's see. We have a few comments here. EMF, I will check them out. Universe has no obligation to make sense to us. We got that. Truncated Reponsis. They do turtles. Sarah Walker has some interesting ideas. They don't fit anywhere. The turtles? Does the code have size, or is it more of a representation or mental visitation of physical thing? No, it definitely has a size. It's very small. At least in the beginning, you see it very, very small. I so agree. Tesla was the man, Einstein the imposter. What am I gonna do with you, Ken? Why does somebody has to be an imposter for somebody else to be the man? Why is it a zero-sum game for you? Einstein was definitely the man. So was Tesla. Schrodinger wrote a book called What is Life that had some interesting ideas. Interesting. Oh, wait, I think I have this book. It's a short book, right? God had to roll dice, or it wouldn't have free will and real nature universe. Well, actually, dice will not give you free will. Dice will move you away even further from free will, because it's random. The idea that it's random does not introduce free will from 1 second. Good guy, we'll see. How you doing? Yeah, no, I mean, yeah, let's give a little bit of like, just to send the chat just a little bit up, and then we'll do another maybe 20 minutes or so. What is free will exactly? Wait, you were serious, or was that a joke, Patricia? Sorry. Yeah. So yeah, the free will thing, that is an interesting one. You really can't describe a world in which the thing that we believe ourselves to be is appropriating the next action. I guess you can say that the story that we make about whatever is happening is the free will. Is you have free will of making something appear, or the meaning that you attribute to the things that are happening. Tesla created inventions. What did Einstein give us? Einstein gave us basically everything. Maybe too big a question. Oh, no, not at all. I didn't know if you were serious or not. It just felt like a joke that you were like came right on time. But free will just essentially is, I guess you would describe it as the belief that the central unit that you are is picking between options, and it is the main arbiter of what is going to happen next, versus being a collection of events that just culminate in the next event, and then somehow a part of it is there's this thing we call our experience that is watching it. So the idea of of free will, at least to the extent that I think it should be defined, it's it's the idea that there's a free moment in which you get to choose either A or B. And when I say you, it's the central conscious agent in the middle, gets to decide. That idea doesn't make like any logical sense, but we have a strong sense that we are picking these moments. But of course, we're not. You can't actually, even in principle, you can't describe a world in which that's the case. The best you can say is that microseconds after the happening, you are telling a story about what is happening. And in that sense, you have a free choice of how you view it, maybe. Did Einstein give us AC we all use? Einstein gave you basically the ability to build almost all technological devices. Without special relativity, you wouldn't be able to go to space. Well, general and special. And you wouldn't be able to understand how to build certain things, including transistors, so computation and all of that. We should teach vortex mathematics to every school child. Yeah, I highly disagree with that. He discovered photons, friend. No, Einstein didn't discover photons. He discovered the photoelectric effect, which is that you can bombard. Well, I guess okay. I see what you're saying. You can say that. Okay, I take it back. You in that context, you can actually say that. You can. He discovered that you can talk about light in terms of it being photons, and he gave it a coherent explanation as to how they can possibly happen by the photoelectric effect, which is if you bombard particular metal with light, it will make some electrons bounce. And the way that these electrons bounce, that behavior would only make sense if light is quantized, if it has particles. Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense as a wave, like mathematically. And that's actually what he got his Nobel Prize for. So I take that correction back, Mendelov's cakes. I will never be able to pronounce it properly. Sorry. If a creator wants an honest opinion of its creation, it has to include free will, which equals randomness. No, free will doesn't equal randomness at any point. Randomness means literally randomness. Free will means that there's some kind of an agent, which is already not random, that is appropriating the next moment. But also, first of all, I don't know, like, do we know the creator wants an opinion? I agree with you that there needs to be, if you want to test like the simulation, you want to intervene the least possible. So in that sense, you want to introduce like a free range function, let's call it that, inside of whatever is happening in the simulation. But the idea of the free will is that we have this experience that, look, if I want to get up right now, I can just get up. But it's because the time frames that we're mostly registering about our moment-to-moment experience are too large for us to notice what in fact is happening. And what in fact is happening is that when I said, look, if I want to get up right now, I can just get up. So first of all, notice that I didn't get up. Does that mean that I chose to not get up while saying that? No. If I want to be honest, I have no idea what caused me to think of that as the particular example, what made the words come out of my mouth exactly the way they did, what made me not get up in that moment, and makes me still not want to get up now. All of these things, I can't actually claim agency on them. Like, I can't say that I know why I'm choosing them. We haven't, like, if I get up later and somebody asks me very broadly, wait, where are you going? I can say, well, I got up because I'm thirsty. But the impulse to get up and to be thirsty wasn't initiated with me. It's initiated by systems that I have no way of inspecting. It's just kind of happening, just like somebody else's. This is an example that Tim Harris uses in his talks when he's talking about free will, which is that if I tell you to think of random cities, then the first 3 cities that come to you, they're equivalent to somebody else saying these cities. You're not picking these names. They just randomly come up, but then you are saying, oh, I choose this one. So I think what you're conflating is that randomness of the thing coming up, it still has an explanation as to why it's happening, but at no point you as the conscious agent are appropriating these options or the choices or the actions that follow these choices. You see what I'm saying? So it's just a matter of like paying close attention to what's happening. Ultimately, all of it is just one system doing something, and we don't even know what consciousness is, so we can't even begin to explain it in terms of what is causing what, because we don't know what it is that is being caused or causing. And I agree that it has to be some kind of a free range function that is just going around the system and doing things in a way that cannot be predetermined by something else. But that's not the same as randomness. Randomness literally means there's just like no way of predicting it, even in principle, but also it doesn't have a coherent pattern. The fact that there's an agency involved, that's a coherent pattern, so it's not random. I guess you can say that what they have in common, like the next moment of the universe or the next moment of what a conscious being is experiencing, and randomness, what they have in common is that this inability to predict the next thing. But the fact that there is a conscious agent causes any external system observing it, if it has enough a large enough repertoire of description of that system, it can predict the next thing with a pretty high success rate. We predict each other's actions all the time, right? Randomness, you can't predict anything even in principle, no matter how much you try. That's the difference. And but if you want to say that there is no way of predicting what the next thing is going to be, that is true. However, you can't predict it either. You don't know what caused you to type that exact thing or this other exact thing. You are as opaque. Your next action and thought is as opaque to you as it is to me. You might have a slightly closer grasp on it because you also have kind of like a first-person view of it, but it's not much better. It's essentially as opaque as my observation of you. Do I know any other languages? Yeah, I speak Russian and Hebrew. Let's see. Do you think men walked on the moon? Yes, I do. I observed that I made a choice, but I'm not always aware of the actual moment it happened. Yeah, and I believe that moment of when it actually happened is actually outside of existence itself. I think that's the mystery. I spoke about it before, but this experience we have of making a choice is basically invisible to us, and I'm claiming it's invisible all the way to the core of reality. It's the one hole in the donut that is outside of even the ability of reality itself to inspect. And the ultimate version of a choice of existence is why did existence chose to be versus not to be? In other words, why did reality went zig versus zag? Which reality itself does not know, because in order for that to be the case, reality would have to be outside of itself, and then it cannot be, because by definition then that part will include that part of reality. So it's this infinite regress problem, or the snake that eats its own tail. Let's see. If a creator, okay. Have you communicated with entities while experiencing the molecule? Oh yeah, I see them all the time. The entities are like literally every single time. What is so important in going to space? Well, considering the fact that most of existence is in space, I would say keep learning and expanding. It's extremely important. Otherwise, we'll be the hostages of however long our sun will survive, and then we'll have to perish with the sun, because the sun will engulf the earth by becoming a red giant. So if we want to pass that intelligence test, then we have to get off the planet early enough so we'll be able to survive the death of our own star. Do I think men walked on the moon? Yes. Satellites mostly. The choices we are choosing from, where do those arise from? Was it your free will that decided? Exactly. Um, Again, I think Sam Harris's book on free will is a really good one on that subject. The space we operated in seems like it has two. Danny, do you know any languages? We got that. Keeps jumping. No, not Ukrainian, Russian originally. But I left Russia when I was very young, when I was like 6 years old. Space with certain seems require elements of randomness, allow free will. Again, randomness does not give you free will. Loons are pretty bird. Wait, loons are pretty bird. How are you, Soulflow? Right. If it was predictable, it would be a program. Program is also not predictable. You can run a program without knowing how it's going to end. You sound like Sabina Hofstad. You mean the tone of voice? You mean the predispensation and attitude? Or do you mean my accent? I am beginning to understand you. You believe in the globe Earth when our senses give us no evidence for it. Your senses are not your evidence ever for the thing. It's a deep intuition of what the thing really is, but that's a much deeper subject. Also, you might enjoy a conversation with Eddie Bravo. He'll tell you that even space is fake. So, why did reality choose to exist? What a trip, right? Hey, Val. Hey, Soulflow. How are you guys? Have you seen the depiction of what an entity outside of space and time sees when looking at our universe? They see all of time at once. Therefore, is okay. There really is there really free will all above. If we were spinning at 1,000 miles per hour, we would certainly feel it. No, you won't, because of the size. Because there's no like wind blowing from the outside, because of the size of the Earth. I think what you fail to recognize, Ken, is how big the Earth actually is. If we deny our senses, we can be led to believe anything. Actually, if you rely on your senses, you can be led to believe anything. That's exactly the point of Plato's cave. We don't feel it when we're on an airplane. Yeah, but that's just because the government built the airplane, so to make you believe that. You think LIGO is reliable data? Yeah, why wouldn't it be? It feels like we live in a simulation. We are. I know the heliocentric model. I took astronomy. Did you take astrology? Big Bang. Ken is just a troll, like 100%. Either a bot or a troll. I like your hat, man. If you're a real person. Um. So let's talk about why the Anunnaki actually decided to make the Earth flat and make it into like a pita. So, Ken, what's interesting is that with your trolling, you actually raised a very important. Oh Lord. you know, uh, we, I love that. How are you, True SMR? Chica Chula. That's fun to say. Chica Chula 11. Um, so I see the local moon and local sun when I look up, but I decided to try not to bring up that topic. I'm not sure why flat Earth is a trend. Yes, I am a real person. I am retired software consultant. Engineer consult. Are you consulting the software or people that build software? All right. Well, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that you're a real person, but with uh, with all the trolling, you actually raised an interesting point, which is that the whole idea of epistemology, uh, and ultimately, we don't know through the senses, and what we know is through conjectures and testing. We essentially deduct something we make a guess, and then we test it, and then we learn from that testing, and we do it on a large scale and we do it on a small scale, and that's really how you know everything. Basically, we are in that sense kind of like Roombas. We're just Roombas that can remember the moves, and we learn pretty quickly. So I still make the assumption, because I've had prior experience, that every single time I put my right foot in front of me, it lands on the floor. I have high confidence that I can do that and keep walking. But in every given second, it is a hypothesis I'm putting forth, and then it hits the floor, and I'm being vindicated, and I keep trying it, or I keep doing it. But if at any point I fall into a pothole or something that is not even, then very quickly my body will try and re-guess the situation, and sometimes it will guess it on time, and I will manage to balance myself, and sometimes it won't, and it would fall. And then I will remember that in this place there's a pothole and I should be careful. What was the saying last night? Oh, with the Roomba. Oh man, I wish I could remember. That was amazing. Existential Roomba. No. Whoa, what was it? Oh, that was so good. Damn, I should have written it down. Trainer. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you're with us. Yeah, the Roomba was great. The righteous Roomba. Okay, I'm gonna write it down. Thank you, Patricia. The righteous Roomba. Literally wrote it down. This is how good this is. Thank you. So good. I bet you like Copenhagen interpretation of wave particle duality. Actually, no. I think it's stupid. I think Copenhagen interpretation doesn't make any sense. Like, it never made sense. I don't even know how people gravitated towards it. Have you studied logic? I think I was born with it. Patricia said it. Self-righteous Roombas. Exactly. Okay, my only statement on the topic is there are over 100 repeatable scientist experiments for... Wait. Is there over 100 repeatable scientific experiments for what? Thank you for the help. That is great. MP21. What do you mean by 100 repeatable scientific experiments? So in the meanwhile, I'll kind of keep breaking down the whole epistemology thing. So, oh, wait, I think we covered it. I think that's essentially what it is in a nutshell. It has nothing to do with logic. It has to do with experience coupled with our ability to make these deductions and remember them. I do believe, however, I do have one that in the context of, modern understanding of philosophy and science, it is quite controversial. I don't think it should be, but it is for some reason. But I do believe that things have an actual essence that is not just a product of the difference between things. So we know, that everything is basically contextual. So like in other words, everything is a comparison with something else. But I do see that there's some kind of a continuum or a dimension, if you want to call it that along which the essence of things exists. In other words, the relationship of things to themselves and nothing else exists in that continuum. And the way that I saw it on when I did, let's just call it the shamanic magic tea. Again, I don't know how many of these things I can mention as a name, and I don't want to risk it. So I was sitting outside, and I saw this little flap, a little piece of cloth, and it was red. And as many of you who've tried different substances, you know that things, the colors become very vivid, right? And I looked at that red, and it was like really red, obviously, right? And I was looking at it, I was like, wait, why is it more red? Like, what is more here? Because I know there's no more light coming in right now. And even if you want to say that it dilates your pupils, which I'm not really sure, still, there's something about it that wasn't quite, it's not like more light. Yeah, it is more vivid, but it's more than just vivid. It's more alive. It's more red. And then I realized, oh, so these things, all these substances, they're meaning apertures, if that makes sense. Like, they open the apertures of what the meaning, the essence of that thing is. So whatever red is, now we think of, like, this is why I said it's a controversial point in terms of how we see the world in modern scientific terms, because we believe that color is just a product of how a particular wavelength of light hits our cornea. But it doesn't take into account what red is to the experiencer. And what I realize is that there's a continuum along which the redness of something is a thing. There's a continuum of redness. And that continuum, I called it the continuum of meaning. And this word can mean a lot of things to a lot of different people, but the what I mean by the continuum of meaning is that it is the dimension along which the essence of each thing exists in relation to only itself. So in that sense, if the aperture of meaning of red increases, I see more of what red is at its core. So the reason it's redder is because I'm literally understanding, I'm perceiving in any given moment more of what red is at its core, at its essence. And this is why the connectivity of other things is so apparent to us when we're on these substances, because it opens the aperture of the meaning of things. And at the bottom, all of these meanings connect. So you can see the deeper meaning of what a person is, of what this individuality is, of a tree, you see the essence of things. The treeness of tree is more. The redness of red is more. And that's why it looks more red. So in that sense, I am proposing that aside from everything being contextual, there's also the essence of the thing. And I guess you in this context, you can, through this lens, you can think of God as the essence of existence itself. It is the ultimate thing that goes from alpha to omega without being interrupted by anything else. It is not in relation to anything else. It is the thing that is the essence of the whole thing, of the totality of things. Case Against Reality by Donald Hoffman will teach you not to trust your senses. Yeah, I'm familiar with. I actually spoke to Hoffman. I emailed him. Some migratory birds use entanglement to navigate. I think that is true, right? That's how they use they pick up on magnetism, but I did hear about this. Meaning apertures to the essence. What experiments? The essence of red. Because of scale. Yes. The energy of red to the individual. Have you seen photographs of mountain lake reflection? Not possible. Oh my God. Can God bless you? That's good. Opens the aperture of the meaning of things, this essence of things. Yeah. Have you ever taken calculus or physics? Yes, I have. I actually started studying physics pretty early on. I was supposed to get my bachelor's before. I was on this accelerated program. I was supposed to get my bachelor's by the time that I finished high school. But then I made some pretty stupid choices in my life and did all kinds of stupid things that led me down a very different path. But informing myself and working on some of my basic calculus and math skills is something that I've always done. So I have some basic grasp on the technicalities, yes. Have you ever seen a lunar eclipse? Not a solar, can't happen on a flip. Oh. SoFlo, I think, well, okay, I'm not going to obviously tell you what to do, but I do think that all these arguments, they're not really, like, I'm trying to understand what's actually behind the flat earthers idea. I don't think it has anything to do with gaining any new knowledge. I think what's behind it is just the sentiment of I am not buying the main narrative, and it's just one version of that, and it's essentially almost like an insistence that you're just not going to buy into the system. I don't think that it has anything to do with understanding the world, because I've never ever seen a flat earther being swayed by any amount of evidence. Yeah, I know. Yes, I have. I've been through it. Yeah. See what I mean? I have been through the indoctrination in college. It's exactly what I mean. Indoctrination of college. That's why it appeals to those that don't understand. No, I don't think they don't understand. I really don't think that's the case. I think that the sorry, we're talking about you in third person, Ken. You can participate, of course, but that is absolutely my conviction of any flat earther. Is that it has nothing to do with knowledge or understanding. It's literally just an attitude towards authority. That's it. It's a very firm decision, standing your ground, not like anything that tries to move you from that position is just the man, the system trying to sell you something. And it's essentially a function of distrust in the system. Once you go flat, you never return to the heliocentric model. Once you go flat sounds like the beginning of once you go black, just like with Asian women. Sorry, I'm gonna. Asian women are very beautiful. I'm marrying one. So, um, it's internet's kept to generate views. Yes, I do not trust authority. Yeah, I know, but I'm saying that I believe strongly that the not trusting authority is the only operative in your in your arsenal. And I don't even mean it in a derogatory or in an attacking way. I believe that that's the function behind the thing. I don't think it actually matters to you all that much. And you said it yourself, like who cares about going to space? I don't think that you understand the value of knowledge and where it can lead and what is the difference between society that has knowledge and does not have knowledge. And again, none of the things I'm saying right now, I mean them in a in a diminishing way. Like I'm not trying to diminish you as a person. I'm saying that this is what I believe about your state of mind. That you are not interested in that. You're interested in stating to the world that you do not buy whatever the authority has to sell. The reason I like math is that it doesn't depend on authority. Exactly. Or knowledge in general. You disagree completely, MP21? What do you. Sure. So tell me more. I don't know what you disagree about. So tell me what you disagree about. Wait. Something happened here that I missed. If someone wants to have a respectful conversation with me, okay. MP21, what are we talking about? I don't talk about it anymore. Wait. Let me go back. Math is math. I think I missed something here. What appeals to those that don't understand? Our morality is what defines us, makes us real. Um, it's the truth to our existence. It's the romance. I do agree that there's something very romantic about knowing, like truly knowing deeply. MP21. I can't find any. Oh wait. This is flat Earth. Okay, but what do you disagree about with flat Earth, or are you a flat Earther? Like I don't explain to me. Or do you disagree about my analysis is what causes flat Earthers to say what they say? All real questions, by the way. So feel free to say what you believe. Oh, no. Okay, what do you believe? You think that they actually care about explanations? Wait, first of all, let me understand. Are you a flat earther? It's fine. I just want to understand what is your position. Oh yeah, let's give it a little bit of likes because flat Earth might be an interesting conversation. I see the world directly through experience. Okay. So wait, so you are saying that you believe the world is flat? This can be interesting. If the Earth curves at age per mile, you should be able to detect curvature. Yes, at a certain height, you do detect curvature. See, the answers to these things are very simple. This is why I'm led to believe that the details don't actually matter because literally the answer to what you just said is just go higher and you'll see the curvature. Okay, I do. So now what? See, this is the problem. That well, first of all, MP21. I would love to hear what you have to say. I want to understand. But to you, Ken, the the world cannot depend on just one guy saying one thing and another guy saying another thing, right? One of us is wrong. You would admit that, right? Both cannot be the case. I have flown 2 million miles and have detected no curvature. You need to go higher than an airplane. And if you don't trust satellite pictures, then I can't really help you. Didn't Einstein say our best equations are will approximations? What do you mean our will? You mean the will is a typo? I know people who have sailed around the world. Skip them. Spaceship or satellite? No, but yeah. So, but eye level. How is that possible if the Earth is flat? Wait, the horizon rises to the eye level. What do you mean? Yes, typo. So equations, they are symbolic representation that describes the meaning of the relationships between things. So it helps us understand what we can say concretely about what mathematical structures are possible and how they interact with other things, because it relates directly to geometry, especially in the field equations. Einstein's theories are based directly on geometry. Essentially, he geometrized the whole thing. Um, Good night, Patricia. Righteous Roombas. When flying, the was eye level not possible. No, it is because you're still not high enough. You know how when you walk around a building, right? The building doesn't automatically moving like past you, right? Because the building is pretty big. So if you're walking far away enough from the building seems to be moving with you. So that's exactly the same thing. The Earth is so big that when you go up, you have to rise way more. But up until that point, it will look like the horizon just keeps going up. But also, the horizon will not keep going up with you if the Earth is flat. He said the best equations are still in approximations, I think. Sorry, but typos. Have a good night, Patricia. Again, the of course it's approximation because it doesn't give us the full picture of what reality is in its totality. If we're going to have some kind of an equation that's supposed to describe the world as a whole, then it would not be approximation. But I guess I would go even further and say that first of all, I don't remember that this quote is attributed to Einstein. It might be, I don't know. I read his biography, I don't remember that, but of course I don't remember everything from the book. So but in either case, it will always be approximation regardless to what Einstein said, because unless we also have a way to describe experience, it will still be approximation, because the equation does not tell you anything about what it's like to experience the objects that the math gives rise to. Yeah, see, you basically sealed yourself in an envelope of non-trust in the establishment of any kind, and if you don't trust any part of the establishment, there is no argument that will ever sway you, because every time you hit any kind of, in order to make big things happen, like building rockets and satellites and phones, you need society. You need a lot of people coming together to do something. In order to do something in a cooperative manner together, you have to have uh, uh, you have to have big organizations. So you have to have authorities. So in other words, you have to have institutions. Let's just say that. And because you don't trust institutions at all, there is no way that can ever convince you that what these institutions did is not just trying to control you, but they're actually acting towards something that is beneficial for humanity. Therefore, this is what I'm saying. My point was from the beginning, your issue is with authority, not with facts or reality. My bad. Oh, no worries. Yeah, I'm totally listening to what you have to say, brother. Or sister. Not sure. Mine is dying. Yeah, I'm gonna have to bounce in a moment too. Go to tallest building. Okay, man. Many Gen Xers believe there was no moon landing. I don't think there's a moon or space. What do you think of Brett? I'm not a big fan of Brett. I like Eric. Brett is a little whiny for me recently. When you sets all ground, take elevator to the top. Yeah, it's just a matter of style. I actually don't think. I think he got too much flock for the whole COVID thing, because I mean, in the end of the day, you have to look at the facts in the eyes, right? You like he was the one that very open about it originating in a lab, and now I think believing anything else doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's pretty clear that it was originated in a lab. It's fine. I don't think it's even part of any like conspiracy theory. At this point, it's just pretty straightforward, right? But he is a little bit too whiny and went a little bit off the deep end for me. I started watching the sun and moon all the time and just observing it go across the sky. Okay, the way the light interacts with the clouds. Okay, what about it? The pattern is online. Which one? Virology is so the science. Okay. Peace out, Denny. Next time, brother. Thank you for joining. I think I'm going to be peacing out too soon in a moment too. It started fascinating me, so I got an icon. Okay. Okay, I really want to see what MP21 has to say about this. And then after that, we'll adjourn. Do you think everything is simulated, moon, etc.? Yeah, but simulated doesn't mean fake. It's still, the physical world is still the physical world. And your experience is still very real. In on it. Okay, started zooming in on it. So far, you got a camera. You looked at the certain interactions of light from the moon and from the sun, just summarizing. And then you took a camera and started zooming in. Observe the moon nestled in the clouds. Okay. What do you mean by nestled? Like that it's in the clouds? What do you mean? You Burton 7050, how are you? Literally, I'm fascinated in P21. I want to see what you have to say. Because for me, see, I like to, like, it used to drive me crazy too, like why flat earthers believe what they believe. But if I ever meet someone who's like genuinely interested in explaining that position, and I believe that they're not, like for example, Ken, I'm not buying for a second that you're interested in any facts. You just care, you literally just care about not saying, yeah, I know you're agreeing with him because he's agreeing with you, but he didn't say yet why he's agreeing with you. I think he has a completely different reason to agree with you. That camera can make objects seem like they're closer to each other in the distance. Okay. Wait, but I don't know what the claim is yet. Wait, the claim was that it was nestled in the clouds? Wait, but do you understand that clouds behind it was illuminated and the clouds in front were dark with light behind it? Yeah. Yeah, what do you mean? Like, wait, is this like a real? Okay, so let me explain it to you. So what was happening there is that the sun is at a certain distance, right? So if you have so if the sun is setting, I hope you're paying attention to what I'm saying right now, because this is literally the explanation for it. Right. So let me explain what you saw with your eyes. So when the sun was setting, right, there's a certain portion that is so certain clouds at a certain height. So when the sun is setting, what happens is that for certain clouds, the sun is still illuminating them. And for other clouds that are lower, the sun is not illuminating them anymore. So what you would have is a situation in which one cloud is illuminated and another cloud that the sun is not hitting it anymore. And then you would see light behind the cloud that is not illuminated anymore. It tracks perfectly. The moon was in the cloud. Okay, wait, but do you know about like a illusion of distance, right? If you understand how big the moon is, do you understand how big the moon is? It's just a matter of extrapolating to other things, like the thing with the building, for example, like the illusions of distance. They're very prominent and they happen all the time. Did you have other examples in P21? We have cloud creates caps. Wait. But have a cloud create crepuscular rays by interact. I love this word. By interacting with light source million of miles away. Wait, I don't understand. What's the problem? light doesn't, like, the amount of light that comes from the sun is enormous. I don't get it. The light source has to be closer to the object to break the light up like that. No, not at all. That's just not true. That's just not true at all. Light can come from any distance and do that. Can zoom ships. All right, guys. Well, yeah. So what I'm interested in actually, like, so if we say something that tracks something, by the time the light gets here, it's parallel basically. No, that it all depends on the angle that it hits the exact place that you are on the planet. The reason that the southern hemisphere and the northern hemisphere are experiencing winter when the other one is experiencing summer is because the Earth is tilted. So if you're on this side of the Earth, the rays will come this way, and if you're on this side of the Earth, the rays will come this way. So it will make it much hotter here, much colder here, and has everything to do with the angle. And it specifically is related to the time of the year and the exact location that you are on the Earth. Watch the sun interact directly with clouds. Yes, I know. Shadows on the ground. Yeah, well, I guess I have to be next to you, right, to kind of analyze it in real time. All right, guys. Well, cloud blocks it out. Yes, the cloud is, for you, is much bigger than the size of the sun that is appearing in the sky. But the light is still going, like there's a bunch of light coming from around it, right? Hey, Tammy. Hi, guys. I'm also going to sign out on this note. Thank you, everybody, for participating. More about your theoretical thoughts on the universe. Absolutely. Thank you, Barbara. I'll prepare something that is a little bit more concrete next time. Good night, everybody. Thank you for joining Mandela Cakes. Later, guys. And good night, YouTube, as well. Thank you for joining.